Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I am your host, Frank Acom, and we have an exciting show in store for you this morning. We'll be talking with former Congressman Joe Sempolinski. He is a fan favorite. I know I keep saying it, but we always get such great comments, pardon me, when he's on the program. So we'll be talking to him in just a little bit. You can always reach out with your questions. Joe is also the chairman of the Steuben County Republican Committee, so he can help if you're interested in getting involved on that side of things. I know he and many others, myself included, will be at the Steuben County Fair to spread the word about joining. So I will be talking with him about that, as well as so many national issues. Having a former congressman on the program, we get maybe a different inside look into what's happening in Washington. So we'll be talking with him in a little bit. Let's go through a couple of quick stories because I know we have a lot to get to. First of all, as an update, if you recall, let me grab all my paperwork here. Quite some time ago, we had Thurston supervisor Mike Volino on the program. That was in kind of the early days of Frankly Speaking. And we were talking about sludge laws, if you recall. Well, to give you an update, and I just found out about this, so it's a little last minute if you're in the town of Thurston, but the town of Thurston sludge law hearing is being held today. They're going to have surveys there available upon request. You can go online to find out more at townofthurstonny.org, but that hearing is tonight from 6 to 8 p.m. is the way I understand it, or maybe, yeah, that's the way I understand it. So take the survey, find out more. Again, 6 to 8 p.m. Just learned about this right before coming on the air. Also, we don't do this very often, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Yesterday, Robbie Robertson from the band passed away at the age of 80. This coming from the Times-Union, and they mentioned a deep connection to upstate New York, and sometimes upstate New York, in this case, considering they consider Woodstock, New York. That's fine. Woodstock, New York, of course, he lived there. Played at the Woodstock Festival in Bethel. And then I would also mention, I did not see it in the article. That's not to say it was not in there. Playing, of course, it's something we mentioned on the 50th anniversary just a week or so ago, playing in Watkins Glen at Summer Jam. Obviously, you know the hits from the band, Up on Cripple Creek, The Wait, many others. Wanted to mention that to you in case you missed it. All right, so there's a couple of quick stories that I wanted to get to very quick. I should also mention another story that I think we discussed quite a bit on the program in the very, very early days because it's kind of fascinating. Why do I have my contact information up? Do you remember this one? The Buffalo Bills Stadium. Well, the costs have already overrun. $300 million. Now, what's nice about that is the taxpayers aren't fronting this part of it, as there are so much of it. They have the team on the hook for $300 million in cost overruns. What was initially estimated to cost $1.4 billion. That was in March of 2022, and you think of how costs have increased, inflation. Then it was $1.54 billion just a few short months later. Now they're looking at $1.65 billion and perhaps $1.7 billion. The rising price tag is notable because the Bills are contractually required to cover any overruns beyond the then agreed to cost, if you recall, of $1.4 billion as part of the tentative deal the team reached with the state and Erie County just 16 months ago. So there's an update being reported by the Associated Press. Okay, we need to take a short break. Stay with us. We're just getting started here on Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We got everything figured out. Zoom decides to update right in the middle of a live program. Like they have no respect whatsoever for us, Joe.
I mean, this is a disgrace.
It is.
They should have scheduled that earlier.
I know.
We got to talk to Zoom.
Exactly. But I will say, though, it was very nice. I received an email while I was trying to get it all figured out that said they don't mind the extra commercial breaks. They're just glad we're both on the air. Isn't that nice?
Well, that's how you make the money.
That's right. Yeah.
Less Joe, more commercials, more money for the TV station. It's simple economics, kids.
Yeah, exactly. Joe, I was trying to think. What indictment were we on the last time we spoke?
Oh, I don't know. There's been so many. They're going to indict this guy right back into the White House.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time they indict him, his poll numbers go up. I think President Trump, his last rally said something like, "I'm one indictment away from winning this whole thing," and he's not really wrong.
No.
If you look at you can go to Real Clear Politics, which is how you sort of see the average of the polls, because any one poll, has sampling variance in it. You average them, you get a much better picture.
Sure.
And they track it over time. And the real game changer so far in the Republican primary was the first indictment. Trump went from being up like 15 to being up like 30 very quickly over the rest of the Republican field, and he has held where he's at very steady, and DeSantis has just gone down.
Yes.
And so that gap has increased because of DeSantis going down. So, but the moment that changed the game to the benefit of Trump in at least the primary election was the first indictment on business practices, and now we've gone through 2 other federal indictments with rumors about Georgia indictments next week.
They're speculating over a dozen in Georgia.
Yeah, so I mean, what is doing is your average Republican, let's say you're somebody just sort of in the middle of the Republican Party, you're not super pro-Trump, you're not super anti-Trump, you really just want to beat Biden.
Right.
And your reaction to this is very, very negative, because you're seeing from that perspective, and this is the perspective I hold too, you're seeing the Justice Department, the District Attorney Manhattan, prosecutors in Georgia potentially, interjecting themselves into what should be the people's choice as to who should be the Republican nominee, who should be the president of the United States.
Right.
And it puts us on a very dangerous slope to what sort of failed republics do. Which when if you lose the election, you go to jail.
Right.
You had the Secretary of State just a few days ago denounce Putin for jailing on trumped-up charges his main opposition leader, which I don't think Putin should jail his main opposition leader. I am against that. He should be released.
Yes.
But it's a little ironic for that statement to come from a government that's literally trying to jail their main opposition leader right before an election.
And you also add on to it, especially exactly what you're talking about, when people are on the fence over Trump and they really, and you mentioned it before, really hate this idea of the deep state, right? And then you see a Hunter Biden sweetheart plea deal where he was going to get complete immunity, and you say something doesn't add up here.
Right. I mean, if they had me on tape with guns and cocaine and prostitutes, you think I'd get a slap on the wrist? Former Republican elected official, I'd be the number one story. Joe, nobody except Zelensky would be the number one story in America.
It's true. It's very true.
Look at all this stuff. And this guy, and good on the judge for throwing the plea deal out. That at least was a positive. That this is something that I think now will go to trial and will be handled a little bit differently. This is, and everybody knows that. That's what people keep coming up to me and saying when I'm out and about.
Right.
And this is regular citizens going, if this was me, it would be a big deal. If
exactly.
this was me, I'd be going to jail if I was doing all this stuff. And people that, one, follow the rules generally don't like it because, the Trump stuff has been sort of a little bit weaker indictments, and the Hunter one seems to be such slam dunks because they have it on tape. I don't know why he tapes these things.
Why? I know.
And they realize if they did those sort of things, they'd be handled very differently. And then on top of that, part of Trump's appeal and part of Trump's argument from the time he came down the escalator was, I'm fighting for you. The government's been sort of corrupted, that there's this deep state of bureaucrats. And so these indictments, especially when they're not slam dunks, they're not smoking guns like Hunter has, sort of plays into that message that former President Trump has. And that is, very powerful politically, and I think we're not far off from him saying, "Oh, one more indictment, and
Right.
I'm a lock to be the next president," which is his argument, and I don't think he's 100% wrong.
Do you think every time there's an indictment, DeSantis just says, "Can you give me a break? I'm trying here, guys."
Yeah, I mean, well, DeSantis, there's been some problems. So the indictment was the first big problem for DeSantis,
Yeah.
where it firmed up the people that were his target audience.
Right.
DeSantis had to get people that liked Trump's policies, liked Trump's style, but maybe were worried about whether he could win the general election. That was sort of that chunk of voters that he had to get to become a viable alternative to Trump. And the indictment firmed them up for Trump. So that was a devastating blow to DeSantis' campaign, the first indictment. And then since then, he just hasn't clicked with people. And, you know, when you're on your third campaign reboot in like 2 weeks
I know.
or whatever it is, that is not a sign of strength. I think his only option is to just grind it out one caucus goer at a time in Iowa and get within a few points in Iowa and then sort of hope everybody else drops out. But the path for anyone else other than Trump's being the nominee is narrowing by the day.
Yes.
And we'll see. I mean, I hate to say in absolutes,
Right.
but certainly you'd rather be Donald Trump than anyone else right now in the Republican primary by a very large margin.
So you don't believe in the Ramaswamy Sanumi? That's their term. The most tongue twisting camp.
Ramaswamy tsunami.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, he's in third place, but he's in third place with like 5%.
I know, but he's getting a lot of hype.
I mean, it's impressive that he's in third place and somebody who came in as an unknown, and he's running ahead of former governors and former vice presidents and sitting U.S. senators. So there is some impressive that. But that's a 5-point tsunami. So I don't know if that's like the Ramaswamy wavelet or puddle.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know. I think this is a guy that maybe, and I don't need to, I can't get inside his head, but he may be running for 2028, or he may be running to be in somebody's cabinet or on somebody's ticket. That's that sort of thing. But nevertheless, he is right now in the average, he is in third place.
Right.
And that is better than being in fourth, fifth, or sixth, I guess.
I was reading an article by Matt Labash, and he was talking about kind of what you're saying, that he's still, yes, he's in third, but the numbers don't add up. And one of the lines he had in there, he said, and his staff needs a cheat sheet to spell his name. And I thought, wow, that hits close to home for me.
Yeah, no, that did you need a cheat sheet to spell my name?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've heard it. I hear it every which way.
Yeah.
I hear it to this day. I when I'm out and about in my day job as a assembly chief of staff, I'm obviously still interacting with the same constituents, and I get a lot. Oh, you're that guy, and then they butcher my name. So I have name recognition, but I don't have pronunciation recognition.
Hey, name recognition and all that matters.
They know who I am.
That's all.
I don't know how to say.
That's all that matters. Did you see? And we're not just going to focus on presidential this morning, but did you see? And there's a lot of not criticism, but a lot of teasing right now. That Pence video of him filling up the gas tank.
Did he not clamp the thing? Is that the?
No. It sounds like he never picked the grade, so there's beeping the whole time.
Was it beeping? I saw it. I didn't listen to it. I knew there was a problem.
Yeah.
Because people were saying, "Oh, he doesn't know how to pump gas,"
which is never a good look.
I mean, I don't know how these things happen. This is somebody who's been a campaign professional. Like, I remember the crudité video with, like, Dr. Oz. How do you, I'm a regular guy. I had never heard the word crudité before that video. And so you'd think some staffer would be like, what is he talking about? Let's reshoot this. Because in this day and age, you're shooting it on a phone. Like, you can get HD, like, Ultra 5K on a good iPhone. So you can just be like, hey, Dr. Oz, hey, Vice President Pence, let's back this up, let's re-rack it, and let's do this again in a way where you don't look like a goof. I have plenty of room left on my phone. We can recut. Do you think maybe there was another car behind him waiting to fill up, and they're like, we got to do this quick? He didn't want to be rude. Yeah. I don't know. Because, like, I've done that, and with me, at least initially in my campaign, it was like my staffer was a podium, or I'm filming myself. Right. And we did not use the first take. Never. Put it that way. I was standing in a park somewhere talking to myself, looking like an idiot for 20, 30 minutes until we got it something that looked sort of right. At least we could edit into something right.
Yeah.
So you would think with something with the resources of a presidential campaign that you would catch, hey, dude, you're not actually pumping gas,
right?
Or you couldn't. I did like one of these things where I was concerned about the price of gas. I remember I was literally just filling up my gas tank.
Right.
And I was ticked, and I took a picture. And so that's a still picture, but I was actually pumping gas.
Yeah.
And I had one moment where my opponent said, "Oh, the gas prices are so low now," which was ridiculous. So and my campaign manager, she's awesome. She caught it.
Yeah.
And I just pulled over. I was driving. I pulled over to the next gas station, and I did a Facebook Live. So I did go live.
Okay.
So you have to go without a net. But I stood in front of the sign.
Yeah.
Where, like, how do I mess that up? Like, the
Perfect.
sign says it's $5 or whatever.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem low.
Right.
So there's ways to do this that you don't outthink yourself, and you think somebody who's been a governor and a congressman for 10 years or whatever, as Mike Pence has, and has been vice president. These are sort of basic things you learn your first campaign.
And I'm not trying to pick on him, but here's a guy that even worked in radio at some point, and you're not hearing that beeping the whole time, and say, let's recut it.
Yeah, the mic could pick that up, right?
Yeah.
You think?
But this is not just a pick on Pence, but I know that was a big story this morning, so I want to mention it. But let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. This is the M.A. Neal Financial Services section of the show. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. This is the M.A. Neal Financial Services section of our program, and we are being joined by the former Congressman, Joe Sempolinski. Joe, thanks so much for being on the program. I've been meaning to ask, because I want to pick your brain on this. Do you think Trump does the debate? Because he signaled yesterday that he's not going to sign that he would support the nominee. So that disqualifies him right there.
Right. I believe that there is that is a requirement, as well as the number of donors and polling, that sort of thing. I know DeSantis just signed it a couple days ago. I think for him it's less that pledge than it is what is strategically good for him. And I think there's two schools of thought. One school of thought is you're up 38 points or whatever, so who cares? And if he's not there, nobody's going to watch. So the whole thing becomes sort of this farce where they're debating with, the elephant not in the room.
Right.
And he sort of deflates the whole thing. And he could do something where he does a rally at the same time. He's floated showing up and just sitting in the audience, which would be amazing.
I think that would get bigger ratings. I think people would say, there's no way he's doing this, right?
And he's talking, it'll be an audition for my VP. So there's that sort of school of thought where he's up so much and is such an attraction to the viewers that him not being there makes the whole thing a joke.
Right.
The other school of thought is him not being there allows all these folks to tee off on him. Now the question is, how many of them want to tee off on him, and how many of them want to tee off on Ron DeSantis to get into second place?
Right.
If Trump is not there. So I would say if you're up 38. You got to think long and hard about whether you let other people get a chance to. Yeah. They're one chance at the spotlight. They're going to come swinging, presumably. Now, and again, the other side of that is: do you not debate? Does that make you look weak?
Right.
And make yourself look like somebody that's afraid? That's what Chris Christie's trying to taunt him into the debate. Oh, you're scared of me. Oh, you're scared of me. And clearly Christie wants him there so he can have his viral moment like he had with Marco Rubio. He thinks he can, play that with Trump. I mean, I don't think it works.
No.
Marco Rubio and Donald Trump are a little two different entities as far as throwing jabs at each other. But the other candidates certainly want him there. And that shows you that maybe he should at least consider whether that is in his interest or not. Just looking at it from a pure campaign strategy point. From a philosophical point, I was the clear favorite in my congressional campaign. I debated my opponent. Right. So from a philosophical standpoint, I think debating is good for the country and good for democracy. So on how I ideologically personally believe, I think people should debate. But if you're talking about just pure strategy, you got to at least have that consideration if you're Donald Trump is is the juice worth the squeeze here for me to show up and let these guys who are way in my rearview mirror, go toe to toe with me?
But then you think, because I've heard kind of the argument that you don't punch down, right? So he goes in there, what does he have to gain? But then he's constantly punching down, like calling Christie a fat pig.
I did see that. Yeah, I did. Although he claimed that someone else did, defended him.
I think that's so Trump that it's brilliant. Because
that was a very Trump truth.
Yes.
Or, it's not a tweet for him or an X.
Yeah.
It's a truth. So that was very on brand.
Yes.
For president.
Because you're thinking, did someone actually say that, or is that just what
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that there's no love lost between the two of them. Although, I find it. I'll just put it this way: I find it interesting that Chris Christie had no problem being the first presidential candidate in 2016 who dropped out to endorse Trump.
Right.
He had no problem being, at least for briefly, the head of his transition.
Mm-hmm.
He had no problem being the head of debate prep for him at one point. So I don't know how genuine this newfound anti-never Trumpism is for Chris Christie. Is this just a chance to regain relevance for the former governor of New Jersey?
And he's very reminiscent of Romney in that way, where Romney, can beg for Secretary of State. He can do all these things for Trump, but then every time he gets a chance, he badmouths. I don't like that political expediency.
Like if you don't like the guy, you don't like the guy. So why go, literally, in Romney's case, go beg to be in his cabinet?
Yes.
And have that humiliating picture
that
of
photo.
Dinner with him. And it just pick one or the other. Either you like this person or you don't. And or there could be some place where, like, all right, he's the president. We got to work with him.
Right.
But that's very different from begging to go be in his cabinet. That's more, all right, call me if you need me, Mr. President.
Right.
As opposed to, oh, please let me be.
Let me take you to dinner. Yeah.
It's pretty pathetic to do the jumping back and forth that Christie and Romney have done.
And with Christie, and he's eating this up. He loves this. That the media loved him so quickly because he was so quick to attack Trump. It hasn't been effective, but I don't think you can out Trump. And when a candidate tries, we saw it with Jeb Bush, it just fails every time.
Right. The only thing Christie has is at least that is sort of a natural for him. For Jeb, it was not natural.
Well, right.
For Marco Rubio, it was not natural.
That's right.
It was clearly trying to remorph yourself into something else. Right. For Christie, it's at least on brand, where he's this combative guy. But I don't see. There's been a little bit of movement in the polls in New Hampshire. And that was his strategy 8 years ago, was to go win New Hampshire. I think he came in 5th or 6th or something. Mm-hmm. So if it didn't work then, I don't know if it's going to work now.
Right.
But I'm not a huge Chris Christie fan. I'll give him credit for one thing. At least he's trying something different.
Yeah, that's true.
The other ones are not.
Yes.
And you have to, by definition, if you're 50 points behind, you got to do something different than what you're doing. And Ron DeSantis isn't, and he's just seeing himself go from, I'm at 25 down to, I think it's like at 16 now.
Yeah.
So he's been rebooting without doing anything different. He's just been reshuffling the deck chairs.
Yeah.
As the ship sinks.
And you see that with DeSantis, that it's not going well when the only coverage you are seeing is about campaign shakeup.
Yeah, that's all his news coverage right now is, he fired his campaign manager.
Yep.
Oh, he he's going to do this different. This is the new strategy. And they're all these sort of morbid discussions of the internal operations of the campaign, as opposed to, this is my message.
Right.
This is what I did in Florida. This is how I'm different from Donald Trump. Or this is why I can beat Joe Biden. That's what he wants to be talking about. But he's gone so far down so fast that it's become sort of this morbid curiosity, and that's what the news covers.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit here about the other side of the coin, on the Democrat side. It seems like when you hear about Biden's campaign, not his presidency, but his campaign for re-election, all the articles there focus on, could it be somebody else, right? Like Harris is now polling better than him, or is Gavin Newsom making moves? That, to me, isn't a good sign either for Biden.
No, I think it's sort of a weak thing, but Biden's in this interesting position where he is president. Mm-hmm. So it's tough to get rid of him. There's a lot of talk in the press about, Newsom or Hillary Clinton or Michelle Obama or the vice president or whoever. Yeah. How do you get rid of a sitting president? He just tells you, no, I'm running. I don't care what the rest of you say. This is happening. Come to terms with it.
Right.
He has that option that they can't get rid of him without his consent. There is the question of, do some of these investigations into Hunter and these massive transfers of money, does that get close enough to the president that causes him to be crippled enough in the polls that he sort of has to pull that ripcord? I don't know. That remains to be seen.
Right.
Certainly, we're talking about Hunter was very well compensated.
Yes.
A lot of foreign entities, and for somebody with no skills other than his last name, so there's a lot of smoke there in the oversight committee's investigation. But so one, I don't think it's easy to get rid of, and two is like, who do you put in his place? There's no sort of obvious slam dunk successor. Everybody else has these other problems. So I think they're probably stuck with Biden. And then he has another advantage where he ran his first campaign, or his most recent, his first election to the presidency, sort of in this bunker mode,
right?
Where he sort of made it a referendum on Donald Trump, right? So a lot of the votes that he got were not really votes pro Joe Biden.
Exactly.
They're votes against Donald Trump. And if Donald Trump is the nominee, he has that option again. And he has his bunker's a lot better bunker this time. It's not a basement in Delaware. It's the White House, where he can just, his campaign is just being president. And then he lets, the people make their decision on do they want Trump back or not. And the people that don't like Trump, he's a breathing alternative to that. And so that could be his campaign strategy. But that is one where you can do it sort of as a reaction to what's going on around you, and let the campaign play out. So he's in a very unusual position. He's the sitting president, so he's got some strength in the primary he probably shouldn't have. Right. And then he's now running as what looks like it's going to be most likely a rematch on somebody who is, Donald Trump. Either you love him or you hate him. Right. And he's going to bank on the fact that the negative is greater than the positive.
Yeah. We got to take a short break. And then we're going to talk about New York, but I do have another question about Biden when we come back. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV, Big Fox. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. This is the M.A. Neal Financial Services section of our program. We're being joined by former Congressman Joe Sempolinski. Joe, thanks for giving us so much time. We even just tricked the Zoom Corporation to give us a few more minutes here. I wanted to ask you, I made kind of a big deal about this on the program yesterday. So Governor Hochul wants to focus on public safety. And it's not because she's worried about your safety or my safety or any resident of New York. It's because that talking point costs the Democrats the House majority.
Well, that talking point did cost the House majority, and because it's true.
I know. So it's not about actually doing something. It's about the politics of it.
Right. People are not stupid. No. And if you're somebody that lives in Long Island, or you're somebody who lives in the Hudson Valley, you're close enough to New York City to see what's going on there. And that's where we picked up the House majority, effectively, was in those two areas. Right. Within the New York City medium line. And in the state assembly, we picked up seats in the outer boroughs that we had never held before. So it's not a talking point. It's people who are suffering, who are seeing lawlessness in the streets, and they don't like it. Yeah. That's called democracy. And I would hope that the governor, of course, would respond to the electorate. That's a positive thing, I guess, in a democratic system. Yeah. But beyond that, I would hope that the woman who is responsible for the health and well-being of approximately 20 million human beings in the state of New York would be like, oh, maybe we should try and stop crime because it's hurting people and kids are dying and getting shot. Right. And Rochester makes Chicago look like Camelot.
It's horrible.
This is ridiculous stuff. And so I guess on one side, whatever makes her do something about it is a good thing. But on the other side, so far, what she's done about it has been what is sort of safe to her Democrat base, or is minimal or de minimis. The problem is we need to crack down harder on criminals. Right. And there is a large element of the Democratic Party in the state of New York that their policy prescriptions are to go easier on criminals. I think it's some sort of systemic problem that is causing them to act out. We need to, talk about their feelings or something. It's there's a real problem that she has within her party, where there's a good chunk of her party that's not going to let her do anything on this. But there used to be certain things that transcended the ideological part of it.
Exactly.
One of them, for many, many, many years, was public safety. Everybody was pro public safety, pro police, anti-criminal, and now you have an enormous chunk, if not the overwhelming majority, I would say, of the Democratic Party that, to some degree or another, is basically pro-criminal.
Right.
That want to look at it from their perspective and put forth policies and have put forth policies that protect criminals. So she can talk all she wants. She's going to have to walk the walk.
Right.
And I think just as a human being, when you see the headlines like we see here coming out of Rochester all the time, that you'd want to do something to stop carnage.
Really? And the New York Post, if you read the New York Post, it's like Mad Max times. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen clips of people just rampaging through stores and stuff, and what you see in Albany is Democrats literally gaslighting people, saying, no, that doesn't exist.
I know.
The statistics don't bear it out.
Even Mayor Adams.
What didn't happen.
Yeah.
Which is bonkers.
Yeah. It goes to show you it's all about politics. When Mayor Adams, who was basically elected with the idea of public safety, coming out and saying, no, never mind what you're seeing. Heaven forbid you're riding on a subway. Never mind that. Just trust us,
Right. And he's, as you said, he's one of the more, for a Democrat, more pro-law enforcement guys. And that's why he's mayor, is because of this issue. So you think if anybody on the Democratic side would say, hey, we need to crack down, it would be the current mayor of New York City.
Yeah. Last break, and then we'll wrap things up here on Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us. And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox joining us for the M.A. Neal Financial Services section of the program. Joe Sempolinski. Joe, we haven't talked local yet. We've talked everything else, and I think we've done a great job with that. I'm excited.
We have to.
Next Friday from 2 to 4, I somehow got suckered in by you manning the Republican booth.
Hey, listen, it is the Steuben County Fair.
You're right. It's like the easiest thing to volunteer for.
It is the most wonderful thing to volunteer for. And we try and have as much as possible people in the booths.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a long-standing tradition. As far as I know, that booth's been there since Abe Lincoln.
Yeah.
This is a fair that's been going on since the early 1800s.
Right.
And it's one of the more fun things. I work a few shifts myself. And you get to actually interact with people. The fair is in Bath, of course, and that's one of the more Republican portions of the county. So the response is usually very, very positive to the Republican booth. So I'm looking forward to it, and it's a chance to get people enthusiastic about our candidates and what they're doing. So I'm always somebody who likes the fair. I go there and I eat fair food and I watch pig races.
That's it. That's the whole reason I signed up. I've had 2 guests on this week about the Steuben County Fair, and my focus is always on who's going to win this year's pig races. That's why I go.
Tyrone. Watch out for Tyrone.
You're right. So the pig races, and I get that fresh root beer. I don't know if you call it fresh, but that root beer right there.
Yeah, which is right by the pig races.
Yeah, it's
so
perfect.
that's my go-to. So I finish my shift, I go get a root beer.
Yeah.
And I watch some pig racing.
Yeah.
And I am once again 9 years old.
I know.
Because I've been going to that fair my whole life. And I just like fairs. I mean, I took my kids to the Allegheny County Fair. My wife is from over there.
Yeah.
And so we always go to that fair. For my job, I was at the Cattaraugus Fair. So I was actually working.
Yeah.
And I was taking a tour with the 4-H kids, with the assemblyman and county legislature and Congressman Langworthy. And we were all going around the Cattaraugus Fair. So I can't get enough of fair time. And I'm looking forward to next week, actually.
Well, and you say that when you watch the pig races and you feel like a kid again. Don't you get upset they only call on little kids? Because I still wave my hand. I'll be one of those people.
A pig rooter?
Yeah.
With like a poster? Or, pig fries.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that is the greatest business model. I think it's like one family
Yeah.
has been doing. I think it was like the father, and now it's the daughter that owns it.
Yeah.
And I know they're at several fairs in upstate New York. They do like sort of a circuit every year, and that is what comes up. People mention that.
Oh,
that this
100%.
is the most entertaining thing I've ever seen. And I do recall the first time I went to the fair when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And saw it for the first time, and it blew my mind. And I was like
100%.
hooked for life. And now I'm a 40-year-old man who's like, Tyrone,
I know.
Tyrone's terrible.
People probably think we're overstating this, but I really no.
We are understating.
Exactly, because as soon as you sent out the volunteers for the booth, I'm like, first of all, I always enjoy talking with everybody that wants to stop by, but it's also, oh yeah, I've got the whole rest of the day planned. It's not like I'm just going to pull in at 2, leave at 4. That's going to be a day.
Yeah, you're going to be on like the Tilt-A-Whirl, eating like cotton candy.
The elephant ears or whatever it's called, the big fried dough.
Are you in the demolition derby?
No, my car looks like it has been, but
Mine too.
but no. So how? Just before we wrap up, Joe, you want to talk more about pig races? No. How are the local races going? Speaking of races,
I'm very excited. They're starting to heat up.
Yeah.
And they're starting to. People are. You get to this part of the summer, get close to the kids going back to school, and especially once you get past Labor Day, you start paying attention to the races. So I've been in regular correspondence with our candidates, making sure they get the resources that they need to wage a campaign to pick up seats. And as I've said on the program in the past, what I'm very proud of this year is, one, our ticket is a great ticket.
Yes.
It's a young, vibrant, energetic ticket. And people that have been very involved in the community. But also, we're on offense. The races that we're contesting or going after Democrat-held seats. We're not in a position where we're defending a lot of Republicans.
Right.
So no matter how well it goes, we're just going to be, it's just a question of how much do we gain. It's not, will we take a step back?
That's great. I mean, because I've been trying to follow it, but people have been asking me to get updates because we had so many of the candidates on early. But I try to explain Labor Day is when the fun begins.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you'll start to see the signs going up. You're I know that they're already starting to sort of knock on doors and these sort of things. So you'll probably see our candidates out and about, especially where you're sitting there in Corning.
Right.
We've got Allison running citywide, Allison Hunt running for county legislature. So that's probably the premier race in the whole county.
Right.
As far as the most attention it's going to get. She's been doing very well with fundraising.
Good.
I talk to her every day about her race. I think she's a great candidate. She's the deputy mayor of the city, young professional mother raising her family. Her and her husband raising a young one here in the city of Corning. So, and races in Wayland, Cohocton, and Cornell. I'm all over the county trying to support our candidates and make sure they have the advice and the support that they need to pick up these seats, either in the legislature, or the city council, or on town boards.
Yeah, and I look forward to watching because Allison Hunt is such a hard worker that it's going to be interesting because all the time people say someone stopped by my door the other day, or it's always Allison. She does a fantastic job.
Well, in a local race, that's the key. Is I'm always going to bet on the candidate that works and the candidate that gets out there and talks to the voters and is listening and wants to be working on the issues that they care about.
Right.
Here at the city, and she's the obvious choice, I think, in that race, is somebody who's been the deputy mayor and is now in a position, I think, to serve the city at the county level very admirably.
Well, Joe, we are out of time, so I'm telling people to come visit me at the Steuben County Fair, but if you're there too, come say hi to Joe.
Absolutely.
And we'll give you the tips on handicap in the pig race. Perfect.
All right.
This has been Thanks, Joe. We'll talk to you soon. This has been Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. Join us tomorrow morning, starting at 7.